Mr. Mariwala, welcome to the show. And let's start with the book which you've written. The book about the story of not Marico, but the story of Harsh Mariwala in his own words on how he made an unknown company to an unforgettable brand.
I began journey at a very, very young age. At the age of 20, I didn't have any clue what I was going to do in life. All I was sure was that I'm going to be in business. I'm not going to be working for anybody else. I had those entrepreneurial genes in me, and I've been identifying opportunities, and at home also of selling new things. So that entrepreneurial bug has been there within me. My family, my father, my uncles, my grandfather, all are businessmen. So a lot of business issues used to get discussed in our joint family, and we were staying in a very large joint family at Haji Ali in the same house. So it was very interesting. I learned a lot of my basics in business through those interactions and hearing my elders. So when I joined office at a very young age, at 20, I have just done my commerce graduation. I started exploring, and I identified that if I can convert the business of edible oils and coconut oil from unbranded to branded, the business will become far more sustainable in terms of growth and profits. And I will be able to create strong brands, which will take me towards FMCG segment. So that was my beginning. And that's how I started visiting my distributors, appointing distributors, visiting smaller towns in Maharashtra, Saurashtra, staying with distributors, because in small towns you didn't have any good hotels. So I have actually, from a bottom up, I have built the distribution network. So I know exactly what goes into retailing. Even in terms of branding, I got myself trained in an ad agency for a week or so, because I realized that I had to advertise, and I didn't have anybody to guide me on advertising, nor did we have any professionals. So we appointed an agency, and I went there and spent one week with them. So that's how I began my interest in distribution and branding and advertising. And from then on, it's been a long journey. We've created all India distribution networks. We created innovations, and it's growing every year. In my own journey, we have grown. I don't remember any year where we have not grown, because growth to me is very important. Growth is like oxygen to any business. It excites all the stakeholders. And I think it creates new challenges. It provides new avenues for growth for all the employees, for shareholders, for associates. So I've had this growth mantra in me that you have to grow, and you can't be stagnant. If you are stagnant in a business, then there is a problem, because then people will start getting demotivated, good people will leave. And I think it's very important to identify what will make the business grow. So the growth mindset starts normally at the top, but the biggest challenge for entrepreneurs and businessmen is how can it go filter down all the way to the bottom. In my case, how can I have the growth mindset amongst all my sales reps, amongst my distributors? And that is a big challenge which most organizations are facing with, in terms of creating the right growth mindset at all levels within the organization.
In 1996, Mr. Mariwala, when Marico went public, did you ever imagine that it could be close to a market cap of $10 billion?
No way. When we went public, because my market cap, the IPO price, we were at 180 crores. And within a few years, it also fell after below 180 crores. I did not have any clue what would we be in terms of size or market cap. But that's okay. I think I feel good about it. I think there is a feel-good factor. It also helps you attract good talent. It helps you attract good board. It gives you respect in the society. But it's not monetary. It's monetary thing is, I'm not going to take all the money with me when I leave this earth. So it's a feel-good factor, I would say. I feel proud that we have done that. And I think it helps the organization in terms of its image and respect.
Mr. Mariwala, for a business which you started from scratch, you passed on the leadership baton. How hard it is for you? Because in India, promoters, they rarely sell. In India, promoters, they always pass on the business to the next generation.
So, yes, there were strong, shall I say, attempts made, and me asked to sell out. I was very clear that I am not built a company for monetary reasons, and I'm absolutely clear that money is not important to me. I want to create a certain legacy in terms of a stamp which I'm leaving, in terms of whatever I've done. So I was willing to take them on because I said that come what may, I strongly believe that what I have created is very, very strong and that I will be able to take on the MNCs because that's one business I know and we are market leaders and we should not get scared of MNC. But it should be supported by some strong logic that why would you be able to win against them? So we realized that in the area of technology, they couldn't have beaten us in coconut oil. In the area of product also, we are superior. We were weak mainly in the area of distribution. At that time, I'm talking of 96, where we had a turnover of 400 or 500 crores and we were weaker in rural distribution where the MNCs are much stronger. And we took that step to improve our rural distribution. So in a way, it worked out good for us because within a crisis, we saw an opportunity and we improved our rural penetration. So we said that as far as this brand is concerned, it gets top attention from myself. In an MNC, what happens is they have many brands. And normally it gets delegated to 2 or 3 levels below the chairman's level. So the attention it may not be as much as at a senior level. So after analyzing all this, I was absolutely sure that I was not going to sell out and I'll be able to take them on. And I think that paid off because we were able to take them on. In that interim period, we had some setbacks in terms of profit growth because our over-investment in marketing. But we were never impacted by their regression. And it so happened that over a period of time, they decided to sell out and we acquired their brand. So it was a very, very, great moment for us in terms of victory. Apart from not selling out to them, we actually acquired the brand. And that was a big event for the organization.
What about resistance within the family? Your son, did he approve of it?
So at that time, he was young and he had some other preferences. He likes to being investor and he's running an investment office for the family and he's done exceedingly well. So the key thing is just because he's son, that doesn't mean he should occupy my chair. He's on board of Marico and he is making investments in some new age businesses which are unlisted, which have really had 20 multipliers, 30 multipliers. He was just telling me over lunch today that I invested this much and it has become like this much. And I said, my God, this is much higher than what Marico has made also in so many years. So he has got his calling and he's found his calling, he's enjoying that. And so he is operating on that. He's built his own business. I reckon he wants to leave his own legacy in terms of creating something on his own. And he also is helping me at the board level. So of course, he will be actively involved at the board level. But to answer your question, was there resistance? At a social level, a lot of questions asked to me, to my wife, to my children. Why did I appoint an outsider and not a family member? But I think we overcame that. There was some degree of difficulty in handling that transition, but I think that was done quite well by us. The Indian society strongly believes in hierarchical passing of baton from father to children. So it is tough, and at least in FMCG, 1 or 2 companies have done it. But in their case, it was a little different because there are multiple family members involved in business. In my case, I was the only family member who was managing Marico. So I didn't have that compulsions of, competing with any other family members in occupying that chair. What I strongly believe is that the company does not belong to me personally. I am a majority shareholder, I'm a promoter, I'm a founder, but that does not mean that it is my company. The biggest problem I find amongst major Indian promoters is that they feel that it is their company. If it is a public company, there is a certain percentage of shareholding, which is beyond the shareholding which is held by promoters. And you can't say just because you are majority, it is your company. So you have to be sensitive to the fact that the company, you are a majority shareholder, but you are not the owner of the company. And that whatever you do has to be in the best interest of the company and not in your best interest. And if I have that kind of a mindset of saying that I have to look at a hierarchical kind of passover of power, then it's wrong. Whatever is the sound decision, whoever is the best person to lead the company will lead the company, and that's one thumb rule. I've always had it, and I think it's paid off. In the last 6 years after I stepped down, the market cap of Marico has maybe trebled or something. I don't have the exact figures, but grown substantially, and I think that was a sound decision to put another person. It was welcomed by the capital markets because here there was a promoter who believed in succession planning. They saw a certain step taken to manage it from a long-term point of view, a professional who did well in that role. So it has been a very rewarding kind of decision for me also. It gave me a lot of new opportunities to do new things in the last 4 or 5 years, which I would never have done if I was doing a full-time role of being a managing director of Marico.
What would be your advice for entrepreneurs? Because the way businesses today are getting created is they're crafted very differently. Let me put it this way. Promoters do not bring capital to the table, they bring idea to the table, and then they raise capital by selling equity.
So I think a lot depends on the kind of business you are in, and the new age businesses require a lot of money, a lot of cash burn is there. It's all growth, growth, growth. And the more you grow, the more money you lose. So when you are in such a situation, you have to dilute your stake so that you get more cash flows, which are required for managing that business. So inevitably, because the business model requires much more resources, you are forced to dilute. Now, you were mentioning earlier that there are many entrepreneurs who are selling out. I think a lot depends on the kind of entrepreneur you are. There are some entrepreneurs who want to start a business, they'll sell off, they'll start some other business, they'll sell off, and they enjoy that kind of a journey in terms of starting your businesses. I'm of a different type. I'm a long-term entrepreneur where I believe in perpetuity of the business. I want to create something which persists for all the time, whether I'm there or not. Something on the lines of what happened to P&G, Levers, started by a family member, Cadbury's, and still the companies are thriving. So my vision is to go towards that rather than looking at gaining monetarily by selling off.
When Marico was born 20 years ago, the challenge was reach and distribution. Today, that challenge may not be there, largely because of digital and connectivity. So what, to your mind, will be the edge for future consumer companies?
So there is disruption as far as what is known as D2C brands, direct to consumer brands. And we've seen emergence of so many brands because some of the entry barriers which existed at that time in terms of distribution entry barriers, in terms of advertising cost entry barriers, in terms of advertising through television, press, all that have gone because you can now market it through e-commerce and you can do digital marketing. So we've seen emergence of many entrepreneurs launching products and doing quite well and establishing certain niches, but still small as of today. They will grow at some stage if the product has potential to distribute through grocer distribution, mass distribution, then they may be forced to sell out. So we will see a situation where you'll have continuity in terms of the big players, which I believe are well managed. Most FMCG companies, whether it's MNCs or Indian companies, are quite well managed outside the leading ones. And I don't see too much of, shall I say, disruption in their ranking, but you'll see newer types of competition coming from D2C brands, though the size may be much, much smaller compared to what the bigger players are. But there will also be opportunities for the big FMCG companies to acquire these D2C brands, just like Marico has acquired 2 brands. Beardo is one. We are doing a turnover 100 crores in Beardo this year. And also Just Herbs, which is another brand we've just acquired.
So if you have to start Marico all over, how will you start it?
I think I went through a trial and error because I have not studied management. Nobody has taught me when I joined the organization. It was a typically family managed organization. And I started from the bottom. And I think that bottom up experience has really helped me in terms of getting a good grip of the business. Number 2, because I had not studied management and we were recruiting a lot of management graduates, it also forced me to do a lot of short-term programs on management, study a lot of books on management. So that lack of all that really helped me to understand from bottom up. And I think that has really done me a lot of good. I went on experimenting with different leadership styles, and that's how I was able to identify the values which are required for the organization. So net, I mean, I would do it in the same way. I wish there was somebody to guide me. I would have moved much faster. Here, I had to, in the initial phases, I had to take one step, see whether that was working, and then take the next step. And I think that led to a little bit extra time because I had to prove it not only to myself but to the family also, that if I invest in people, then I should be able to recover that cost. So some degree of acceleration of my journey could have happened, and some of the mistakes which I did in my initial stages of my career in terms of not taking certain functions seriously, like legal, quality assurance, which again put me back. If I'd done that, I would have basically accelerated much faster in my own journey. But in terms of things which have worked well and I am very proud of is the portfolio choice selection, of the concentration and thrust we gave it to values and culture building, on our organizational strategy, on the purpose of the organization, which we've been doing it for last 10 years or so, the role of board of directors. So I think we have created some very strong mechanisms for the organization to continue growing on a perpetual basis. And that's what I'm very proud of, apart from creating very strong brands which are market leaders.
What has been the biggest learning for Harsh Mariwala? Something which you've learned the hard way?
Oh my God, the biggest learning. I think grit is one of them. You don't give up very easily. I've had multiple failures in my life, and all my failures I've captured in the book. But more importantly, when there is a failure, there is a learning. And in most cases, that failure has led to a learning which has succeeded later. So not to give up. If there is a complete hopeless situation, you give up. But as long as you go on trying and don't give up very easily. And I think in multiple, and if you read the book, I can say that there are 7, 8 or 8, 10 failures in my journey, which are captured in the book. And I think each of them has led to a better Marico, because we've learned from those mistakes in analyzing what went wrong and what we should be doing differently in future.
You are running several foundations now. When you retired 6, 7 years ago, you did mention that now you will have a lot of time to do things which you always wanted to do. Tell us what inspires you every morning.
So in the last 6 years, I've stepped down and I have pursued many newer initiatives. They go from one starting a new business in the area of aqua therapy to helping my son set up investment office to spending some time on Kaya and Marico, which takes about 30% of my time, to managing the boards. I'm on advisory board of some PE companies. I spend a lot of time in giving initiatives at the corporate level as well as personal level. We are one of the largest funders of mental health for last 8 years in India. We also run Ascent, which is for entrepreneurs. And I support that. I spend a lot of time in Ascent, ASCENT. Those entrepreneurs who are listening to this, please look at Ascent's website, www.ascentfoundation.in, and you'll know what we are doing. So, and then finally writing the book, which happened through the pandemic. I sat with my wife and I leveraged her strengths in writing to write this book, which has come out very well. She doesn't have any experience in writing a book, but she has spent a lot of time in making the book very interesting, adding emotional element to the book, making it in a story format, getting anecdotes, and selecting the right language to make the book very interesting. I also have roped in a co-author in Professor Ramcharan, who is a renowned co-author. He's written 30 books. And some of the books, if you add up the circulation or the sale of that book, they've gone to more than 3 or 4 million copies. So he's a bestseller author. And what he has done is he has given insights on my journey. So it's a very interesting book, which is a combination of story format combined with some insights given by Professor Ramcharan. And I think it'll appeal to entrepreneurs, it'll appeal to professionals, it'll appeal to students, and also anybody who's interested in autobiographies in terms of learnings. Even I've sent to my friends, some of their wives, and they also found it very interesting. So this is the book which is a pun on my name, Harsh Realities. and the cover also is very interesting. It's a transparent cover which portrays my DNA of being open and transparent. So all I can say is I think I'm very proud of the fact that my wife has played a very important role in helping me this. And the pandemic also worked out very well because we were able to spend a lot of time in finalizing the book.